Good day, gentlemen. If you want to stop sabotaging relationships once and for all, then you're in the right place. Because there were many times in my own relationship where I was sabotaging without realizing it, but thankfully, I've always been able to snap out of it, and now we've been together for over 7 years. In this time, I've been able to build an arsenal of skills and tools against self-sabotage, specifically for relationships, that has helped both me and countless of the men I work with to stop sabotaging our relationships and instead show up in a productive and mature way. So in this video, I'll give you an opportunity to dive deep into why you just can't seem to stop sabotaging love. Because in order to solve the problem, you first need to understand the problem. But I won't do this by just throwing a bunch of information at you and then letting you go, because you'll forget about that very quickly again. So instead, I'll give you 4 examples, 4 stories that all describe different patterns and different angles of this self-sabotage, so that this information actually sticks with you long term. And if you're wondering why you should even listen to me, then let me introduce myself. My name is Benny, and I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I am simply a curious man who's been obsessed with learning everything about relationships for almost a decade now. The topic fascinates me, so I've read hundreds of books on relationships, psychology, human nature, evolutionary biology, attachment, masculinity, femininity, and so on. I've also learned from many great mentors and, of course, from my own relationship. So, let's get right into this. I need to preface story and lesson 1 with something that might sound weird at first, but you'll understand this very soon, trust me. You might have gotten so used to being treated poorly by people close to you that it feels deeply uncomfortable to you when you're being treated with love. A great example of this is one of the men I've worked with named JD. And man, shout out to JD, because in one of our sessions, he understood why he couldn't seem to stop himself getting aggressive at his woman in fights, shutting down emotionally in fights, even shouting at her in fights, because he didn't want to do any of those things. And afterwards, he always felt this deep sense of regret. Through questions and practices I gave him, we were able to uncover that there was a subconscious pattern running JD's relationship without him even realizing it. Basically, because of his dominant father and his time that he spent in the military, JD was used to being treated like shit. And he was actually more comfortable being treated like shit than being treated with love, because he simply wasn't used to that. Him shouting at his woman was simply a way for him to feel comfortable, because what would happen, of course, inevitably was she would shout back, or she would run off, or she would shut down. And that's exactly where he felt comfortable. He would even disrupt connection in loving moments sometimes, because the love felt overwhelming to him, because it was simply unfamiliar territory for him. By the way, before I reveal what happened to JD, what you'll see in all these stories is something that I tell men over and over again. It is most likely not your fault that you are where you are right now. You were a victim of your circumstances, of how your parents treated you, of how people in school treated you, of how your first big love treated you. But you don't want to stay that victim. You can't stay that victim. So even though it is not your fault that you are where you are right now, it is absolutely your responsibility to make sure that you're not here anymore in the future. In the end, JD understood that this relationship was actually not serving him. And so he had the courage to end that relationship, because he realized that really he got into this relationship from this frame of, I don't deserve love, subconsciously, of course. And his now ex-girlfriend, she was actually reinforcing that thought pattern within him. And now that he's moved on, he was actually able to further reinforce this new thought pattern of, I do deserve love, even just by himself. He was able to give himself or show himself kindness and love, not in this modern hippie self-love way, but in a maturely masculine way, doing what's good for him and standing up for himself and being able to set boundaries in his life, healthy boundaries. But of course, you don't have to end your relationship to get out of this. For me, I stayed in my relationship and I was able to solve this while being in my relationship. So in lesson number 2 and story number 2, I want to tell you about one of the patterns that I struggled with, because this might actually help you reveal a pattern that you struggle with, maybe even your main pattern. And you know, the thing is, people on YouTube like me, they usually don't talk about what they're actually struggling with, right? They only talk about the stuff that they struggled with 10 years ago that they've long overcome. But I'll be honest, man, this specific pattern ran my life only last year. And it's February right now when I'm filming this video. So like, this is not long ago. And basically what happened last year is I had achieved the highest goal that I've had for myself for the 6 years prior to that. And when I did that, I didn't know what to do with my life anymore. I felt lost. It was this gold medalist syndrome that Olympic athletes, they have the same thing when they win the gold medal, right? When they achieve that highest goal that they've had for a decade or maybe even 2 decades, right? That they've worked towards. And that's what kind of happened to me there. I'm not comparing myself to any Olympic athletes, right? Like, I'm way below that, by the way, but that's kind of what happened to me nonetheless. I didn't really have a goal. I didn't really know what to do with my life. So I wasn't being productive. And you might say, well, I mean, fair enough, like take a break, whatever. Yeah, but I was taught that if I'm not being productive, I am not worthy of love. But keep in mind, I was in a relationship at this time and I'm still in that relationship, right? And my girl's love felt wrong to me. And for a long time, I didn't realize why. It felt like she was pretending to love me, like her love wasn't actually true, because I thought that I didn't deserve that love because I wasn't actually being productive and working hard. You can probably imagine how much I struggled with receiving her love during that time. I would often just shut down or even get like defensive, and she wouldn't understand why, because to her, nothing had changed about me. She didn't see me any different. And thankfully, through my curiosity and my introspection, and I'll be honest also, a big part of it was my mentors calling me out on my bullshit basically, but through those things, I was able to see that I'm actually in a relationship that has the potential to help me heal those internal wounds, that has the potential to help me overcome these thought patterns that are no longer serving me. If there are similar patterns happening in your life, running your relationships, then you might be able to get into great relationships, get with great women that have the potential to help you overcome this, but you will sabotage them. Every single one of them, one after the other. And you might even think that there's some curse on you that just prevents you from building love, and that you're just not made for this, and that love just isn't for you. I certainly had those thoughts when I was younger, by the way. But then I came across a quote by the famous Carl Jung, who said, "If you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The unconscious will direct your life and you will call it fate. Is that not exactly what's happening to you, or what's been happening to you? And is that not exactly why you keep sabotaging, especially the relationships that are good for you? This is why I'm telling you these stories, because you might be able to relate to them, and through that, uncover what's actually going on for you and why you keep sabotaging these relationships. With the men I work with, I can of course go back and forth with them, right? To either help them transform their relationship or help them build the exact relationship they want from the ground up. I can go back and forth with them and help them through that uncover these subconscious patterns and rewrite them so they stop sabotaging these relationships. But for now, I want to give you 2 more examples, 2 more stories that describe different directions that this self-sabotage can take. And dude, I'm just realizing I need to calm the fuck down here. I'm getting almost a bit aggressive here because I'm so passionate about this topic. I want to help you solve this because it is such a massive change. And people, they can learn all this stuff about attachment styles and whatever else. They can learn all this stuff, but if they don't rewrite these subconscious patterns running their life, they will never get where they want to go. So let me calm down a bit and then we'll jump into lesson 3. The third story and lesson is from another one of the men I've worked with, named Josh from the US. And Josh, what's so incredible about his story is that when he came to me, everyone could clearly see that his woman wanted the absolute best for him. She took care of him when he ruptured his meniscus and couldn't work for a couple of weeks. She supported him through financial turmoil. She moved across the fucking country with him. Everyone could see what a great woman she is. But for Josh, he felt like this was all a trap. Josh's unconscious thought of, I'm not used to this level of love. This feels overwhelming. quickly turned into, this can't be real. And that's where it gets dangerous. Maybe you've heard people in your life say, well, when something seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Or maybe you've even said that yourself. The truth is, the people who say this are not right in the moment of saying it. But they will be right in the end, because their fears will turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their unconscious will run their life, like Carl Jung said, because you know what the mind hates? Inconsistency. Brother, I guarantee that you've had experiences in your own life where this was the case. Maybe you just haven't realized that this happened. But what happens there is, if you truly believe something, you truly believe it, maybe without knowing that you believe it, right? But either way, if you truly believe something, your unconscious will lead you to doing things that will make this belief true. So that your inner critic, this fucking bastard, can have the glorious satisfaction of telling you, I told you so. For Josh specifically, his woman's love felt too good to be true, because he didn't feel like he was worthy of her love, especially not when he had his injury and when he had financial trouble. He felt like he wasn't providing, he wasn't doing his part, so why would she do her part? It clearly has to be a trap, right? What Josh's subconscious didn't want to see was that his woman's love, in many ways, was simply not conditional. It was unconditional love. And Josh is not to blame for this. He is not the problem, neither is his masculinity the problem. He had a problem, and that's what we worked on. Way too many men are being told that they are the problem, or their manly traits are the problem. But that's just keeping them stuck in this vicious cycle. And only when my client Josh was able to let that paradigm go, was he able to stop sabotaging his relationship. And only then was he able to actually take it to that deeper level that he wanted all along. Because as the ancient legendary Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, and I want to read this quote to you because it's a long ass quote and I can't remember the whole quote. He said, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Josh's negative thoughts about his relationship and about his woman's love turned into words, actions, and habits that sabotaged his relationship. And only when he was able... Did you see that? I don't know if I caught that on camera. A bird just flew in between the camera and me. I don't know if it was too high up, but he just shot through here. That was crazy. Fucking madman. That was cool. I hope I caught that on camera. That was sick as hell. He's actually flying right there. I think that's too high. I think you can't see him. He's just circling around me like a small ass bird, just enjoying the wind here. Anyway, when Josh was then able to shift his thoughts to positive ones, suddenly his words, his actions, and his habits also shifted into positive ones, because I gave him the exercises and the practices to shift those thoughts. I'm proud to say Josh did overcome this in the end. He did overcome these unconscious thoughts and blocks holding him back. And last time I heard from him, he was happily living with his woman in beautiful Montana. And I just have to show you these pictures here that he sent me, because fuck me, man, I was quite jealous when I saw these pictures, just this beautiful wilderness. It's very evident that Josh is not only able to enjoy his woman's love now, but he's also able to build his life in a way that he actually wants his life to be. He sees that he deserves the exact life that he wants. Josh, if you're watching this, dude, enjoy what you have, man. It's fucking great, and you have done fucking fantastic, man. Now, one more story and lesson from my own relationship to potentially help you uncover one more potential pattern holding you back and leading to you sabotaging your relationships. Because see, when I was younger, I was bullied for 8 years straight in school by a group of up to 7 guys at one point. I was the small, skinny kid. I couldn't protect myself. And my friends and the teachers, they wouldn't stand up for me either. But then when I came home after school, I also wasn't able to feel safe and to relax. There was a lot of fighting and shouting and doors being slammed at home. And for example, I remember how when my mom and my sister and I were driving somewhere, and my sister and I were in the back seat, right? And we would often get into fights in the back seat. And every time we got into a fight, my mom would, in the middle of driving somewhere, right? In the middle of going, 30 miles an hour somewhere, she would slam the fucking brakes and just shout at us. And the shouting wasn't even the part that I was, that made me so anxious and so timid. It was the fact that I was so fucking terrified of getting into a car crash, of all of us getting into a car crash when she was in this state. And I'm not telling you any of this, by the way, to seek empathy. I've worked through this. I actually have a great relationship with my mom, my sister, and my father these days. But I'm telling you this, and of course, it also, disclaimer, it could have been a lot worse. There are people going through a lot worse stuff. I'm not telling you this, like I said, to seek empathy. I'm telling you this because when I got into my relationship, I was expecting the exact same things to happen there. I was expecting my girlfriend to get very angry at me when I made a mistake. I was expecting her to make fun of me and to talk bad about me behind my back when I did something dumb. But what I was expecting the most, and what I was most afraid of, was her leaving me or even cheating on me. And so the whole thing of me being so afraid of and literally expecting her to leave me or to cheat on me, a big part of that probably also was that certain people that I saw as friends betrayed me earlier in my life, and also that certain friendships of mine just randomly ended without me ever really understanding why they ended. Now, I will say, me being controlled by these fears, this was years ago, and I've since done the inner work to go beyond this, which is why I've been able to build such a secure and healthy and passionate and supportive relationship with her. And also why I've been able to become a man and build the skills to become a man, really, who's able to lead from love and from calm. And also, massive credit to her, because she did none of these things, ever. But even with that in mind, think of what would have happened if I had never overcome these fears. If they had continued running my life, what would have happened? Where would this relationship have ended up? Even with her being the caring, loving, kind woman that she is. The simple truth is, either I would have sabotaged the relationship to a point where she would have ended it out of respect for herself, or I would have eventually ended that relationship. Because the simple truth is, man, I was terrified of her hurting me, leaving me, cheating on me, making fun of me. And in my mind back then, these things would happen sooner or later. They would happen anyway. So what's the point of me being in a relationship if I'm gonna get hurt anyway, right? And that's why I would have broken up with her and ended a relationship that was perfectly good and perfectly healthy. I want to drill this into your head because it's so fucking important you understand this. If you believe deep down that sooner or later you will be hurt in a relationship anyway, that sooner or later any woman you get with will maybe leave you, maybe cheat on you, break up with you, get angry at you, make fun of you, whatever it might be. If you believe those things, then the only natural way to not get as hurt is to just break up with her. That also hurts, but it hurts way less than her breaking up with you, making fun of you, cheating on you, whatever else. And that's why you've been sabotaging relationships. Because you believe you're gonna get hurt anyway. So might as well just not engage in a relationship. Might as well sabotage in the talking phase. Might as well sabotage after 10 years because eventually she's gonna cheat on you, right? And of course, dude, the internet, by the way, does not help with this. All these people on the internet, I'm not gonna say any names, but all these red pill podcasts, whatever else, that does not help, brother. It does not help. Stop consuming that content. Stop consuming content that puts these paradigms, these thought patterns into your head and just reinforces them. It is not serving you. Just as a side note here. Gentlemen, I truly can't express how grateful I am for having been given the resources and having met people who trained me on the skills to overcome all of this. I can't tell you how grateful I am for where I personally am at as a man, and for where I'm at in my relationship, and for where I've helped so many other men get. A lot of us men, we try to figure this stuff out by ourselves. And let's be honest, that isn't working too well for us, is it? If that's you, and you're tired of not making any real progress, and you want to finally stop sabotaging relationships once and for all, and become a skillful leader who is able to build a fulfilling, lifelong, supportive, peaceful relationship, then listen up, brother, because I'm gonna offer you my help here. I'm starting a new round of the exact program that Josh, JD, and so many other men have gone through successfully already. And as of right now, there are still some spots open. I work specifically and exclusively with men, so this training is built in a way that will not negatively affect your ability to perform in other areas of your life. Your work, the gym, your business, whatever it might be. And this is built specifically for driven, busy men who don't have 20 hours or 30 hours or something crazy like that to give to this every week. This is built in a very concise, very direct way. There's zero fluff in this. Now, I'm very selective with who I work with in this, but I give every single man an opportunity. So, brother, what you can do is you can fill out an application. This takes 2 minutes, and if your application looks good, we will hop on a free discovery call. Just you and me. In this call, we get clear on your problems, your challenges, and your goals to figure out whether you should be one of the men I work with next. So, brother, if this sounds interesting to you, I urge you to stop messing around, because the men who work with me, they don't just do that for themselves. They also do it for their wife or future wife, and for their children or future children. So if you are done with sabotaging relationships, then click the link in the description right now and fill out the application. I'll see you soon in that discovery call. Have a great day.